Hello, my name is Dr. Yaya Sissoko, Professor of Economics, Department of Finance and Economics at Indiana University of Pennsylvania. Today, I'm going to talk about Chapter 1, Introduction to Labor Economics. This video is about an economic story of the labor market. Labor economics studies how labor market works. Most of us allocated a use fraction of our time in the labor market. So how we do in the labor market help determine our wealth or income, how much wage or salary we're making. It also help to determine what we can afford to consume on it. Are we planning to buy a house or a car, for instance? It also helps us to determine where we take our vacation. Are we going on vacation in Europe or Africa, for instance? It also helps us to determine which school our children attend. Are we sending our kid to public school or private school, for instance? So the, the policy issues examined by modern labor economics include why did the labor force participation of women rise steadily throughout the past centuries in many industrial countries? What is the impact of immigration on the wage, employment opportunities of native-born workers? Do minimum wage increase the unemployment rate of less skilled workers? Another policy issues talk about the impact of occupational safety and healthcare regulation on employment and earning. Are government subsidies of investment in human capital an effective way to improve the economic well-being of disadvantaged workers? In other words, government providing financial assistance or financial aid to workers so that they can attend training, workshop or seminar, or even to go back to school to get higher degree will help these workers to improve their skills, and they become more productive, and therefore they'll be able to earn more money. The wage and salary would increase. Why did inequality in the United States why did wage inequality in the United States rise so rapidly after 1980s? So we know that in the after the 80s, in the 90s we have the technological innovation, so which led to the internet. So with the internet, skills worker, were able to increase their productivity, and therefore they were making more money. Their salary and wages goes up. Less skilled worker, because they're less productive, their wage and salary went down. So therefore, the the wage gap or the income wage gap between skilled worker and less skilled worker keep winding up, in the United States. Another policy issue include the impact of affirmative action programs on the earning of women and minorities, and on the number of women and minorities that firm hire. So whenever business firm have a job vacancy or job opening, they are required to advertise this position, and also to make sure that they get application from so a pool of applicant must include women and minority including Native American, and African American, and also disabled people. So they also business firms are required, to provide, equal pay, between workers, other workers, and women and minority. The next policy issue is the economic impact of unions both on their members and on the rest of the economy. Another policy issues is, do generous unemployment insurance benefit lengthen the duration of spell of unemployment? In other words, by providing very good unemployment benefit to unemployed worker, so they'll be able to get paid for lost wages. They also will be able to go see a doctor when they are sick. So because of this good benefit, unemployed workers have tendency not to look harder of finding a job. So this might decrease their incentive to look for work. Therefore, this will increase the duration of unemployment. The next policy issue is, why is unemployment rate much higher in Europe than in the United States? So in the USA, unemployed worker can collect unemployment benefits for a period of 26 weeks or 6 months. So after the period of 6 months, unemployed worker will not be able to collect the unemployment benefit. Therefore, they have to start looking for a job. On the other hand, in Europe, unemployed worker can collect, unemployment benefit, forever on the permanent basis as long as they are not working. Therefore, an unemployed worker have tendency not to look harder of finding a job in Europe. This might increase the unemployment rate in Europe. So this is an example of a job market or labor market where you have two group of people who are working, we call them employed people, like this guy, or people who are not working, we call them unemployed people, like this guy, for instance. In this graph, we're trying to compare the unemployment rate, in Europe and the unemployment rate in the US. The unemployment in Europe is on red, and the unemployment rate in the US is on blue. So from the period of 2002 all the way up to 2013, we can see that from 2002 to 2007, about 2007. So the unemployment rate, was much higher in Europe, about 7 to 8% unemployment rate. While the unemployment rate in the US was about 4 to 5.5%, and was decreasing during much of that period, while the unemployment rate in Europe was increasing, much of that the period. So with the Great Recession happening in the US, which impact also Europe, so the Great Recession, also called the housing bubble or the housing crisis in the US, unemployment rate start to increase. So after 2007, and then also unemployment rate, in Europe was still coming down, but and also start to increase in Europe too. The two were equalized in 2009, and after 2009, unemployment rate start to decrease in the US, while unemployment rate start to increase in Europe. The gap between these two unemployment rate, start to winding up. The unemployment rate in Europe and the unemployment rate in the US, the gap was getting bigger and bigger. This story of how labor market works include recounting the history of labor law in the United States or in other countries, presenting realms of statistics summarizing conditions in the labor market. This is an example from labor markets. Another story of how labor market works include assigning motives to the various actors in the labor market. So we have two group of actors here, workers and business firms. Workers are trying to find the best job by selling their labor at the highest price or highest wage rate, and business firms are trying to make more money by buying labor at lowest price or lowest wage rate. Transactions in the labor market are limited by a set of ground rules imposed by the government. This set of ground rules include, minimum wage law and occupational safety regulation, for instance.